Hello, everybody. This is Jeff, Charting Horse Value, and I got Chase here, also known as the Wolf of Oaklawn. Welcome, Chase. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate being here for the kickoff Twitter show.
This is my very first live stream. Everything else I've done has always been pre-recorded and then put up. And this looks like a new way of doing it. And I'm hoping to get some engagement, from some people watching us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whichever one.
Awesome.
And really glad to have Chase. Chase is a legend of handicapping, and you've been doing really well at Belmont lately.
I'm doing fairly well. I had a really strong Saratoga, and just kind of have to pick your spots a little bit with Belmont, because it's just it's a different animal, with the different the two different turf tracks, and we just especially easing into winter, like Naira racing, with trainers having different intentions for things, but doing fairly well.
Yeah. I mean, Belmont's so hard because you got these 1-turn 9 furlong races. We're handicapping a couple today that are like that, and very different than a 2-turn race. I do well there. I'd had a great Saratoga meet as well, but really glad to be here. We're going to handicap Belmont's late pick 5. Just kind of go through our thoughts on the sequence. We are expecting very bad weather. Might be sloppy. There's going to be rain. And there is one turf race, I think it's race 10, the last race, that probably get rained off the turf, be a lot of scratches. But we're gonna try to handicap it with that in mind. So we're gonna start off with race 6, and let me look at whatever race 6 was.
The Iroquois.
Yeah, the Iroquois. Excuse me. Yeah, 6.5 furlongs, unique distance. So what are you thinking, Chase? What are you thinking about this race?
Well, I want to have a strategy going into this, which is I know that it's going to be I know that's going to be muddy. I know that I'm probably going to be dealing with at least a muddy, probably a sloppy track. And when that's the case, I really kind of want to key in on early speed. I'm really wanting to find that speed of speed. I'm wanting to find the horses that have proven records on off tracks, or they've got a Tomlinson, the pedigree that shows me that they can probably hang. But I'm also if I'm going to play this from a multi-ticket place, I want to have myself covered with off the pace horses with B tickets, because you'll notice that sometimes these jockey colonies will overreact to a bias. They'll all send when they know that they're going to go on the lead, and it'll end up melting down. So I didn't think you had to go too far off from the two most inwardly drawn horses, Miss Jimmy and the important one. They both have great mud pedigree, great history of performance, and I kind of think that these two probably duke it out on the front end, and it might be a case of these two, a good 6-7 lengths out ahead, and everyone else just kind of lugging in behind.
Tough to use them both, though, in a sequence at the prices they'll be. Do you have one that you prefer over the other?
More than likely, it's going to be the Asmussen horse.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to give me probably the best value, I have to think, given the speed figures from Miss Jimmy, the last two out over a good and sloppy track.
So, yeah, I mean, I like that 1 and 2. Don't disagree with you at all. I'll show my chart here for a second. I think I hit share. Let's see if I can get better at this. So interestingly, the 4 is popping up on top of my sheet, and you may not be that familiar with this, Chase, but gets the A+ grade and the spot play designation. This is a really strong play for me. I do worry about the pace setup. This horse is probably going to be running 3rd early, but behind that 1 and 2. That last race might be a toss. That was his first race in multiple months, 5 or 6 months. And so he's got that 2-3 in my form cycle. That means the horse should improve. and gets Carmouche on, who is 38% with this trainer. And this trainer is like a sub 10% guy. This
Right.
is, an 8% trainer. So Carmouche is getting on board, and they work extremely well together. I think this horse is very live. You're going to get all of that 5, 6 to 1. You're going to get it all because of the trainer. And horse, I think, so this is kind of my key horse. I might single this horse actually and just put my whole ticket on this horse. And if I hit it, I'm set. I'll probably bet it to win as well. If I did throw one, I might throw one other horse into it, either the 1 or the 2. I wouldn't use both.
Yeah, it's hard to, you're really kind of just costing yourself value there when you have those 2 favorites. I handicapped without the morning line, so I had no idea how far down they were bet. Actually, I really like the play with the 4. That's one I was considering, and a lot of it was because I love Kendrick Carmouche, and I love how aggressive he gets in a very passive jock colony.
Yeah, he's smart, and he's gotten the clue from the trainer to get on. Otherwise, he's not getting on.
Right.
So I think it's a very live horse, and it shows up on top of my sheet, and I'm going to go for it. That's going to be my key play. Probably going to die if he loses, and I think he's got 25-30% chance to win it, but and he's definitely an overlay.
I love taking the stand like that. Like it's one of those things that, if he wins, if he loses, hey, at least I had an opinion and a strong one.
I could reload on the pick 4.
That's right. That's why God made pick 4s.
So I like signaling. I like when I have a really good signal at the beginning, because if I hit it, great. And then if not, I just reload. So I feel good about it. All right, let's go on to race 7. A little bit trickier race, I think. What do you think?
I think so also. I mean, you've got, first of all, nothing more temperamental than a 2-year-old filly, I would have to say. And I think you're going to have one strong favorite, and I'm guessing it's more than likely the 5, Sandy's Garden, after that big speed figure it put up at Finger Lakes, breaking its maiden. If I just had to guess at the morning line,
he is the favorite, I think. Let me take a look. Actually, the favorite is Venti Valentine, who also makes complete sense, closing from like last place in a field of 11 or 12 and got up by a nose and bred to go long.
I'm gonna zig here. I more than likely, especially if I'm gonna single either the 1 or the 2 in the first leg, I'm probably gonna go 3 deep here with the 7, the 8, or the 9. I've got 2 horses that I think should be on the lead, and then I've got Captain's Daughter, who can come from off the pace in case it does melt down. It's also a midshipman baby that should do fairly well on the off going. Uncaptured doesn't necessarily have the huge Tomlinson I would like, but it's also dropping out of the a grade 3. And I'm a big fan of them adding blinkers to Dufresne here, with especially with my theory that early speed is going to carry. That's one of the things I really love to look for is equipment changes. And Velvet Sister, it's just there's I don't know if it's the Oaklawn Park in me, but there's one trainer I probably trust above all. It's usually Steven Asmussen, especially when it's a mile and shorter.
Yeah, the 7 makes complete sense. Surprisingly, hasn't been able to get to the lead last few races, which kind of concerns me. Went wire to wire in his debut and really just has run kind of flat after that. Might need 2 turns. Bernardini, 500,000, spent a fortune on him.
My guess is Rosario. Rosario just pulled it back,
okay.
5 links for the fun of it,
Okay. Yeah. I have a very weak opinion in this race. Let me share the screen again. Okay, good. It works. I got that 1, and I got the 5 and 7 on top. And the 1 is very hard to walk away from. But the 1, the 1 broke so bad, maybe that horse really won't go to the lead. And maybe you could, like you talked about, that sort of speed bias. Maybe you just stick with that 5 and 7. And that's probably where I'm at. Your 9, by the way, Dufresne, does show up pretty high on my sheet, 4th on my sheet.
So, and Too clever. First of all, you got a Seinfeld reference with Sue Ellen Michigan.
Right. Yes.
And then Dufresne is probably my favorite clever name at Naira right now because it's by Uncaptured and it's named after Andy Dufresne from the Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. Yeah, Sue Ellen Michigan's hilarious. And I think that's actually the wrong name. I think her name is actually Sue Ellen Mishke or something like that.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, but they obviously went with Michigan to, I think they didn't have the rights and they want to get sued. So,
yeah, that probably.
But anyway, I think Seinfeld and them, if they'd been in contact, would have let him have it.
That's right.
But yeah, so I think we're fairly aligned on that race. The one scares me a lot if he breaks well, but maybe I probably go 5-7.
It's I think this one will have to be fast and what concerns me with the one is the history of coming from off the pace,
Right?
And I worry about it taking a stalking trip on the rail. It seems like at Belmont that water tends to really kind of pool at the rail, and you want to be a couple paths over. And I know I just took like the 1 and the 2 in the previous race, but my theory is that they're going to be fast enough; they're going to be able to pick their own path.
Yeah, and everybody's this is this is a mile. So the big question all these horses have is, can they really go the mile? That's one good thing about the 7, who he's gone 7 furlongs. So yeah, this is a race you could go very deep on because it's very, very hard to predict.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go back to you now for race 8.
Yeah, the Empire Distaff Handicap, $250,000 purse.
Good race.
Yep, we've got fillies and mares 3 years old and upward. I ended up looking at the 7 and the 10, kind of sticking with my early pace or my early speed scenario. That my knock on 7, what kind of worries me is going to be it's going to be the distance, but also it's going to be the Rosario ride that he maybe takes this early speed horse back a little bit. You notice that Kendrick Carmouche was up on the previous ones. Trini Luck, I absolutely love.
Okay.
Really, the horse is really firing right now. If it either takes a step forward or just kind of holds what it's the kind of performance that it's had its last few races, it's going to absolutely romp in this field. And I mean, you look at the last race, it won by 5.5 lengths, and it was kind of geared down late. And I think that win at this distance is big time. And if we're going to have my B to kind of cover myself in case of like a speed duel, it's going to be the 2, the Sharp Star for Horacio De Paz, who looks like he's actually been able to win from off the pace and on a sloppy track.
Mm-hmm. I really like that 10 especially on the off-going. He's got to win in the slop. He's got to win on a good track. Tons of early speed, good draw. Makes complete sense to me, that 10. I was so confused with Carmouche not riding Bank Sting. I just can't figure it out. The guys won 4 straight races on the horse, and Terra Nova kicks him off, or does Carmouche literally pick Maiden Beauty?
Right, who he was on last time also.
Exactly. So did he have a choice? And so I'm going to show my sheet here. And you can see Maiden Beauty sits 3rd in my sheet, but gets value. See over there in the green, gets value. So a little bit, you get a decent price, gets a B grade. It's very wide open. If you look at like my odds lines, 3.9, 4.9, 8.1, 8.1. I mean, this is not, I don't want to be on a 2-to-1 horse in here.
Right.
So that's the one thing about Trini Luck that concerns me is he's going to get bet. But I totally agree with your take on him. I'm probably going to be leading towards Maiden Beauty. I'm going to trust the Carmouche angle. Bank Sting has a big, long layoff. And so maybe that's why Carmouche just decided to stay on Maiden Beauty. But Tough race. 4-1 makes sense as well. But I think my pick is Maiden Beauty. Is my main.
And I like it quite. I do like that Maiden Beauty pick quite a bit, especially with these New York bred races. We've got a horse that's dropping out of $100,000 optional claimer that was open company, now dropping into New York, New York bred stakes races. Well, is that actual class drop? That's the kind of thing that people don't factor in with these, and I apparently didn't factor in either. So yeah, I like that move.
And that horse has a lot of speed. His last 4 wins, actually, he had the lead at the second call, and in 3 of them, he had the lead at the first call. So the horse does have speed. Carmouche knows how to use it. He's ridden this guy a couple times. He rode him way back last year here at Belmont, going a mile, and he did run a gigantic figure in this last race, 134 for a mile. You could worry a little bit about the bounce there, but I don't know. I think he makes a lot of, or she, sorry, Distaff, she makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to take the price. I got 2 Caramouches already the first 3 races. That's a little concerning, but I'll probably be 2 or 3 deep in there. I'll probably be looking at the 1 or the 4 or your 10 as well. We'll see who stays in the race, who gets scratched. But my main horse is going to be that 8 horse. So we'll go back to you for, is this the classic now?
Yeah, the Empire Classic Handicap for 3-year-olds and upper, aka the Mr. Buff Invitational, I believe.
Oh, has he won in a while?
I know he's got at least 1. He might have 2. It's been Mr. Buff's world when it comes to these Empire, or for these New York bred stakes for a long time, but he's coming off of 2 straight races and make me feel like Mr. Buff is a little bit vulnerable these days.
Yeah, I didn't even consider him, and yeah, you're right. He won this race last year very easily. It could be the lack of Lasix. He did have a couple decent efforts without the Lasix, but now 3 straight pretty poor efforts.
It's remarkable how a horse can know that he's in New York State, New York bred competition, because he'll run in like an open competition and won't run a lick, but as soon as he drops in a New York bred race, he just absolutely crushes it. So I'm going against him. I think he's beatable, and I might be taking. This feels like a trap, and it's a trap that I think I've walked into face first a couple times. I like Seafoam. I really like Seafoam, and it's another Kendrick Carmouche horse. I feel like the move from Rosario to Carmouche is a positive move. I'd have to see the morning line, but if the odds look like it makes sense to add in a second horse, I like the 8 Tiergan. That 8 out of 10 times has hit the exacta on an off track. It's an Fleet Alex baby, coming off of 3 straight wins. So the horse just doesn't have any, there's no excuses really for this horse. It's just, it needs to fire. All I can see is maybe it's kind of like an AB pattern. It might, be on a down performance coming in this time, but I feel like I am definitely rewarded if I get around Mr. Buff here with either Seafoam or Tiergan.
Yeah. Now you didn't mention the 5. So what's your thoughts on that 5?
American Revolution. I think it's the performance on the good track, despite it being a hot start, that kind of concerns me. I mean, it is out of the Tappet line. It is Pletcher. I don't know. It's the horse has won before. I mean, it's won in New York Stakes, but I don't know. There's something I don't trust about it at all, and it might be that a little bit of the running style working against it.
Yeah.
But Saez, he'll push. I mean, I feel like it's Mr. Buff or American Revolution. Those are the 2 horses that probably kill me this leg.
Yeah, I'm definitely playing against Mr. Buff. I got no problem there. I think American Revolution kind of lays over the field a little bit. I got this energy column, and this 99 is a lot better than everyone else. And he ran you remember he was kind of a wild card in that Pennsylvania Derby, getting a little buzz, kind of a wise guy horse. I was against him, and he ran good. He ran a very good third. And now he's coming back to state bred. He might lay over this field. I think this is like easy money for his owners. Pick up a couple $100,000. The other horse, yeah, go ahead.
It's just the time of year. I'm always just kind of wary of Todd Pletcher for some reason. It's just
Okay.
it feels like if the horse was, you know, extremely talented, that it would be somewhere else by now instead of kicking around. You know, and it's just my own personal like tinfoil hat kind of angle, you know.
No, that's true. I mean, there's no such thing as a sure thing, but he gets this K plus over here as a letter grade. It's like this key horse letter grade I give. Anyway, my belief is he's a very strong favorite. He deserves to be favored. I'm going to go too deep. I'm going to use Seafoam as well. I really like Seafoam. Everything you said, totally on target. I love his running style. I think he gets to the lead. And if he can hold on, he'll win. And maybe American Revolution is going to come running, give him a threat down the lane. But I'm going too deep here. Hopefully I catch Seafoam, but I want to be alive if American Revolution wins.
Can I ask a question about your sheet here?
Yeah.
Can you explain the energy column to me? Because I see that you've definitely got like the pace and the early speed and the late speed figured down, which I really love because I'm very much a pace player. But this energy thing is intriguing.
Well, it's just the average of the early speed and late speed. That's all it is.
Okay.
So it's kind of like so I have an early speed figure and a late speed figure, and then I kind of ignore the middle of the race, which I don't think is that critical. And then I combine them basically into an energy. I combine my figures together.
Okay.
My figures are weighted over by recency, by distance, by surface. So 99 compared to like Seafoam at a 90, that's a big delta. So now there's one horse down here, 97, Captain Bombastic. I did look a little at that one as well. But, you know, when I have 5 points of delta, it's pretty significant.
So it's kind of just like a more of like an energy distribution sort of thing that kind of covers it from early speed all the way through late speed. Like what is their average just like sustained energy that they're going to have through the entirety of the race?
Exactly. You know, and you know, for some races you might want to look more at the early speed than the energy, and some races maybe like a firm turf course you might want to look at late speed. But you know, anyway, the horse is fast. The horse deserves to be favored. I hope he loses to Seafoam. But, you know, there is some other early speed that's going to go with Seafoam. 3 Jokers, Captain Bombastic. He's going to get some pace pressure, even Mr. Buff. So this thing might actually set up for American Revolution.
That's yeah, 100% true. And the thing about a track bias, and it's something that, you know, I usually have to remind myself of, which is if a horse is talented enough, it can outrun a track bias. Like it can shine through whatever bias that it might set up. Sure. And I mean, given the figures, it could be that American Revolution has that going for it. It could be good enough to outrun, you know, a sealed track sloppy bias.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up Thorograph. I wanted to see Thorograph for this card, which I will look at before I bet it. But you know, it wasn't ready yet, so I couldn't pull it up. But all right. So anyway, do you use Thorograph or anything like that ever?
So I try to stick to like one truth typically, and it's usually going to be I use like Brisnet PPs. I like their speed, their pace element to it, like their pace figures, as well as like the Kieran speed points and the Kieran run styles. And I kind of use this as like a trust but verify sort of thing. Thoroughgraphs I use for like the big weekends, for like Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, especially Breeders' Cup because of the Euro figures that they have. But I'll just put like a note that's like, hey, horse had a good Thorograph figure, you know, into my PPs, because I feel like if I get too into analyzing the pattern, then I will somehow get that wrong. Like I'll just, you know, swing and miss.
Totally agree. Now, what I do, I can't waste my time with the pattern. I buy their form ratings which are like $10, very cheap.
Yeah.
And it's basically an average projection. Some people don't like them. For me, it's just as good as their sheet. Gives me an idea of who they think is fastest.
Oh, is
And
that the one with the lines that go out with the?
no, it's just a
Okay.
table with numbers. Okay, and you know how thoroughgraph, the lower the number, the faster they are.
Yep. Yep.
But with the form rating, the higher the number, the faster they are. So, and if the horse comes in overweight, you take one number away. You take a pound away for every pound overweight. But anyway, all I use it for is to just double check my speed figures and make sure I don't have huge errors. Thoroughgraph, they got better speed figures than me, but they're extraordinarily expensive. You got to pay for them. And
right.
So I will look at it, but it's not a major factor in my handicapping. It's more just a check and balance.
Especially because it's more of just like goes past just being a speed figure, and it's like an overall form figure, and they're factoring in saved ground and everything. And one thing that I really like, and I think it's if you buy like the full thoroughgraph, sheets, is they have their like pace projection sort of thing that it just looks like a bar chart.
Yeah.
And what I really like those for is when I'm playing on a track where I feel like there's a distinct path bias, that it just visually, gives it to me in such a way that I can say, okay, this horse is definitely getting hung wide because he's going to be running at about the same speed as these horses and everything like that. And I feel like, when I have that sort of situation, I can really kind of capitalize using those.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, we're on the last race. I think this is just an allowance non-winners, one other than.
Man, just a big middle finger to pick five bettors here.
I know. I mean, almost makes you want to not play the sequence. This race alone, it could be just an all. I mean, honestly, it could be an all.
I don't ever really like to go more than like 3, maybe 4 deep. I could, and especially with it being, coming off turf, it could be that a couple of these get scratched, but I could justify going about 5 deep here with the 6 through 10, quite honestly.
Okay.
It's you've got a couple speedball horses. You've got I believe there's you've got Luis Saez on Neuro that could push. You've got Chrome Dixie for Chad Summers, which, if you've been Rosario'd, you can also be juniored if you're unaware of it, because junior will get you sometimes. And the 8 gives me the Broberg horse gives me the protection, I feel like, if this thing kind of breaks down. So it's throw a dart in this one, I kind of think.
Yeah, Broberg's horse is all turf. I'm counting on this race being off the turf. And so the horse I'm kind of looking at, and this is the weakest opinion, okay? But the horse I'm kind of looking at is this 4, Bad Guy, for Lezcano and Rodriguez. I mean, the horse has some wins on the dirt. One way back in January, another one recently, and no wins on off tracks, though. By the way, 4 wins lifetime. A lot of horses in here are 1 for whatever, 1 for 17, 1 for 15. This is one horse that's actually won multiple races. So maybe is he in for a tag? I don't know. He qualifies, whatever. Somehow he qualifies. Maybe he's been running against cheaper, but I'm kind of liking Bad Guy. Now, the main track only horse is the 16 Scotto. Very unimpressive. I mean, nothing to like.
Right.
But that is the main track only horse. I always look at that. I was very high on Mr. Kringle, but that's a turf horse. I mean, that horse runs, 2 for 17, both wins on the turf. So I'll be honest, I have no clue. I did look at Neuro very hard. Saez could just put Neuro on the lead, and you never know what'll happen. Very, very difficult to figure out what's happening with pace either.
Right. Especially when you don't know who's going to be there come post time. It's one of those. It's just one of those things that makes handicapping New York racing so tough. When the weather rolls in, is is this going to be on turf? How many ways do I have to handicap this race? Like, do I need to handicap it for dirt, for wet dirt, for off turf? And yeah, it's King Angelo. That's the horse that concerns me that I decided I'm still going to try to get around. I don't have very much trust for Irad to actually exploit an early speed advantage. Him and Rosario are the two that I feel like kind of inexplicably pull their horses back more often than not.
Yeah, big jockey change there. Saez doesn't get on. Saez rides a Neuro. Yeah, I didn't look hard at King Angelo. I did look hard at War Terminator, but huge layoff and going turf to dirt. No way I can take the horse is 3-1. So I did look hard at that. I'll show my chart here. It's not helpful at all. It's
right,
an absolute mess. But yeah, you see, Bad Guy, the 4 does show up high and gets this 0.5 in here, which means he doesn't fit the race that great. And that's because he actually has run recently on dirt and ran well on dirt. Right. So I'm kind of liking Bad Guy, but it's a weak play.
Yeah, it's something I just noticed with where's the horse I was just looking at. Oh darn it! It might be gone now. Whatever thought that I had. Oh, with War Terminator, the fact that the horse won on yielding turf maybe tells me that it's got just kind of that like wider hoof that can maybe perform well on the wet dirt as well. That's one thing that I could say, okay for War Terminator, but I'm going to be shocked unless this thing scratches down to like 4 horses. I'm going to be shocked if you get, a chalk winner in this last leg, especially just because the traditional Naira crazy stuff happens in the last race, tendency.
I think that bar 14 is interesting. That bar 14 took second in his last race. It came off the turf and he was up close. Got some early speed, and there's only a couple other horses, and this thing might scratch down again. I hate to have another Kendrick Carmouche. I feel like I've picked him every race.
We're gonna make thousands of dollars if Kendrick Carmouche wins the last 5.
Absolutely, but I'm hoping this race scratches down to about 7, and then I can just go all.
There you go. Yeah, nothing like mashing that all button. Also, and I do like. I'm a fan of horses shipping out of parks into into Belmont or Saratoga, especially when they are early speed types. It seems like that any horse that does well early speed at parks always tends to translate well to the New York tracks.
Yeah, I mean, I think 4 and 10 are 2 horses I'm definitely going to use. I like your 6 as well. 4, 6, 10, no problem. I did look at Chrome Dixie. I was a huge California Chrome fan. And the problem I have with Chrome Dixie is just all turf. I just couldn't get a read whether this horse will like the dirt at all. So anyway, that kind of wraps it up. Let me go back here. Any final thoughts on the sequence? I really appreciate you joining me today.
Oh yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having me. I love this is the kind of stuff I love doing. It always feels like when you talk through a card with somebody, even if it's just sometimes I feel like just saying out loud what you're thinking about a card is just as valuable as, getting someone's opinion. Just someone listening and, look at the workouts on Saturday morning. See how many horses they worked over the main track. And if it's a really low number, I think this thing is sealed and built for speed and ready to fly. That's my one little angle that I always go to with a sloppy track. And don't be, give yourself some protection with some off pace horses because jockeys are not immune to groupthink. Would be the last thing I'm really thinking.
Well, let me tell you, the Naira jockeys in particular, that's they don't know how to ride their own horse. They ride everyone else's horse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're so content to just let somebody go.
I know. Just sit there, patient.
Yeah.
We're all going to go for it at the top of the stretch. There's no actual race riding.
Right.
But anyway, really enjoyed it. Now you live in Arkansas, right?
Yeah, I actually live in Little Rock. I'm about an hour away from Oaklawn.
All right. Well, listen, I will, when I make it up to Oaklawn, I will give you a note. I'll probably go up to a couple friends and would love to meet you if you can make it over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a prescription for a corned beef and a beer right there.
It's such a great track. And I'm actually thinking about forming a claiming partnership this year at Oaklawn. So I haven't put a lot of thought into it yet. I got to find a trainer first.
If I find a creative accountant that can hide that from my wife, I might be in.
All righty. Well, listen, thanks everybody. Good luck to everybody out there watching. Hope you guys hit the pick 5 on Belmont on Saturday. Take care. Goodbye.